development and blue economy of the African Union. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this side event today on technology, AI, and innovations for transformative climate action in sustainable agri-food system. I believe that you are here because you have a reason to be here and because food is important to all of us. And I believe that the insight and the experiences we're going to share from here across the globe is going to also inform our intervention at the country level, at the regional level, because we have a cross-section of people from different regions across the globe who will be sharing their experiences and what we need to take forward in relation to agri-food system. Again, it's important, and it's no news or no-brainer that one of the sector that is mostly impacted by the impact of climate change is the agriculture sector. And we know that it is also the second largest contributor to the greenhouse gas emission globally. So if we must change the way we practice our agriculture and the food system, as well as other sources of food system that we know is not all that might be agriculture. And I know in the course of the discussion today, we will see the other form of food, which most of us in the past, including myself, have not reckoned with so strongly. But I believe the panelists today will open our eyes to see, so what is this aspect of the food that we've not been prioritizing and also need to bring to the fore? So if the sector, especially the agriculture, the food system, is the victim as well as the contributor to the impact of climate change, then the way we have to address climate change in the future and in any time from now, we also have to change in terms of the way we practice our agricultural system. Technology have come to stay, and if we're talking about agriculture, we need to run with the current technology that we have. And I'm very, very excited to know that the AI is also going to be part of the innovations we are going to bring into the agriculture and food system space. So this evening, we will be hearing from our experienced experts and panelists who will be taking us through these processes and all the innovations and then share experiences. And we also want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on some of the presentations and the exchange from the experts that are here? Again, my name is Sam Ogallah. On our speakers tonight to take us through this important topic on technology, AI, and innovation for transformative climate action in sustainable agri-food system. As first, Dr. Fernando Barrio. Fernando is a reader in sustainable business law and policy, School of Business and Management, Queen Mary University of London, Ringo designated member of the UNFCCC Tech Digital Technology Action Group, and a trustee for the Society of Computer and Law. Please, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Fernando as he takes the floor. Fernando will be taking us through policies and regulation of technology, AI, and innovations for transformative climate actions in sustainable agri-food system. Dr. Fernando, you have the floor.
Thank you, Sam. That's the problem with a friend introduces you, you are clapped before even you open your mouth. I suggest you wait and then decide whether there's anything to be clapped about. Very important day for us. Just by coincidence, some would argue it's not a coincidence that we are talking about policy and regulation, technology, and innovation for transformative climate action in sustainable agri-food system when we have the COP28 United Arab Emirates Declaration on Sustainable Agricultural Resilient Food System and Climate Actions. Somebody was copying somebody here. So what are we talking about here? Why we are talking about this? So you are here, there's a lot of news that you already know, 8.5 billion for 2030. Probably the number is wrong because we reached 8 billion just a few months ago. That number probably will go higher, and 9.7 billion people in 2050. That creates, you will argue, some of challenges. We need more land, more people need more land to live, and they need more food, more energy, more natural resources, which also need land. This is what few years ago, some Argentinian scholar now living in London called the land needs dilemma. How do we sort out the land needs dilemma with a growing population and growing need of food in the context that we have? Because just to add to the complexity, the planet is warming. So there is no option in this dilemma to simply extend the agricultural frontiers, as we see on daily basis in some regions of the planet. We can spend here days, months, about the true and most important reasons for what we are living through, but we probably will agree, without spending those months, that the deforestation that is happening in some areas of the planet have something to do with that. Therefore, we have this situation. We need more food, we need more land, we cannot use more land. So what's the solution? I imagine that the question is in many people's head. Yes, so what? We already knew that. Well, some of us think that probably the solution is proper use of technology, not techno-solutionism. Not those that say, oh, don't worry about climate change, technology will solve everything. Bad news for them, it won't happen. But technology could be part of the solution. We are also talking, and it's a very important issue for this COP, AI for climate action. AI now is everywhere, and we will see how it works. And finally, innovation in agri-food system that goes beyond technology too. So, and what does a lawyer, policy analyst talking about these issues here? Well, this is a discussion as old as technology development. And the key here is that policy and regulatory frameworks are critical in order to have a proper development of these technologies for agriculture, for climate action. Adding a new layer, which is that addressing what we now understand as the human right to clean environment cannot be at the expense of other human rights. So as you probably seen until now, I said, look, we came to the wrong session because I'm just keep adding problems. We need more land. We will not have more land. That is the bad news. We need more food. We have technology. Technology needs proper policies. Policies need to be compliant with human rights. And this is what I'm talking about very briefly, just to lay the foundations for what it follows, which will be those that really know what they're talking about, and will be talking about technologies applied to the agri-food system. When we talk about different technologies, many of them, I would argue most of them, but I haven't counted them, so don't repeat most, have highly potential characteristic of invasion of people's privacy life. And from the human rights point of view, there is a right to family and private life. These rights goes in every jurisdiction that you want to know. Remember, jurisdictions for lawyers are just countries where the law applies. If we go to the non-binding Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it clarifies that we all have the right to a family and private lives. Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights, the American Convention of Human Rights, and the African Charter of Human Rights, they all make clear that my slides are off, but they're back. They all make clear that we talk about family privacy. Those are established human rights. So what happened when a drone goes over a farm and there are both farmers and employees? Are we thinking about that? It is worth the innovation that we are having in those technologies, the privacy of those people. What happened when we have almost perfect traceability given by technologies, which have a very good impact in many different aspects, health and the climate too. If we can trace back to the address where the product comes from. Do we have protection for that? And furthermore, when we don't regulate properly, we just leave things to happen and then courts have to intervene. And it's not always good with courts have to intervene. And it was decided in Fahorst and Woodward, 2021 in the UK, if you can prove that there is incidental capture of people's images, well, there is no privacy invasion. Means we can keep invading. Is that the sort of development that we want? It's just a question. Then we talk about AI for agri-food, AI for climate action. One of the hot topics, again, in this COP, and the Technology Executive Committee of the UNFCCC, the main topic is AI for climate action. What happened, both at human level and decision-making level, with bias. The bias in AI, for those of you who think what is he talking about, when an algorithm makes not a decision, just a prospective analysis, is based in historical data that could be biased. So if you ask, before it was corrected, if last year you asked to any AI system, show a lawyer, will show a white man, for example. And that is for historical reasons. Then there is data representation. Data is more condensed in those groups that have higher income in developed countries. Therefore, it is some form of data discrimination. Algorithm can be designed biased too, not on purpose sometimes. The person designing has its own. And then there are human prejudices. Another problem that we have with that is transparency. AI makes a decision. Yeah, really just gives an option. Most or many, again, people just take it for granted without going beyond that, how it was made. It is very difficult. There are a lot of studies that show that it's very difficult to go against what AI proposed, because you have to demonstrate that AI is wrong. And because of issues of transparency, it's very difficult. It is very difficult to prove it's right too, and therefore, who is accountable when things go wrong? And finally, innovation, broadly speaking, that goes from AI to digital technologies to using breastfeeding to sometimes traditional knowledge, could be very innovative, is one of the tools in climate adaptation, and one that in many regions of the world is being proposed, is one referred today in the declaration that I mentioned before. What we need, and I will try to wrap up, I don't know how many minutes, but probably I'll exceed my 12 minutes, so I will try to wrap up.
You have about 7 minutes.
Oof, plenty of time. We have done quite more in less. We need to balance this idea of innovation. Let me go back to the 90s, when those who are older than most of you started with this. And we have this idea that innovation needs to be uncurtailed, untapped, because good things were going to happen. So those of us who said, let's regulate what is happening, say, oh, crazy, don't regulate, let it live. I invite you to have a go around social media, internet, and see what happened. In AI and technology innovation for agri-food, the consequences could be even worse than that. And there is another issue that is important for businesses, which is certainty promotes innovation. If you know what are the rules of the game, you can play better. So let's have some sort of proposal. How a regulatory framework should look for all the technologies that we are going to talk about. Inclusivity has to be at the core and by design. There are inequalities at domestic and international level that the regulatory framework cannot simply replicate. As we said, privacy, family life is is a human right, it has to be preserved by design. It cannot be an afterthought. We cannot be discussing with social media companies for 10 years why, when you designed the company, you didn't think that that might violate people's human rights. Another issue that some of us have been observing and have projects in different places is about land and labor rights, and particularly land rights. Technology will allow to protect them properly if we can use less, and particularly when some of the new projects, governments very keen, let's imagine that it's in good faith, very keen to engage with climate action, start by using indigenous lands or common lands. And that could be problematic, and therefore the regulatory framework have to preview this. And finally, the ethical implementation of AI. It is true that when we talk about ethical standards, it's not your common ethical standard that a bunch of philosophers get together and decide what is good or bad or what should or shouldn't be. We are closer to what it must be in the sense of regulatory framework than to your common ethical standard when we talk about that. Clearly, you would argue, well, we are sort of far from there, but one option, and something that we've been discussing last year in Sharm el-Sheikh, is that probably one of the issues that COP needs to address is governance models that address this multi-stakeholder participation, that allow to create regulatory frameworks which are cooperative and fluid. Again, when you hear me talking too much about regulation, don't imagine that I'm thinking about something Soviet style that you cannot do anything. We are talking about fluid systems. To make sure that innovation and agri-tech in climate action has always a human rights focus. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Barrio. I won't. I think I won't attempt, and I won't tempt myself to summarize these issues or the topic you've discussed, these AI issues and ethical issues and governance. So let me not tempt myself to do that. But I know once it's time for colleagues to also ask questions, to understand and to see how we can unpack this the more to the level of some of us. I say some of us are analog, not digital yet. So I think you'll be prepared for that. So thank you so much once again for that insightful presentation. So without much ado, we'll move into the next speaker, who is the coordinator of Climate and Sustainable Development Network of Nigeria, in person of Mr. Stephen Abuh. Please join me welcome Stephen Abuh, who will be talking about accelerating agricultural adaptation in Africa. Please join me welcome Steve to the podium as he has the floor.
All right, thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone, for coming for this side event. I am not going to speak long like my friend Fernando, so I will make it brief. I answer just 2 questions on my presentation, and I will be off. All right, so I will be talking about accelerating agricultural adaptation in Africa. And I have summarized this presentation in just 2 questions. And the first one is, why Africa? And the second is, why agricultural adaptation? So before I move into that, permit me to take you through what CSDevNet stands for. CSDevNet, Climate and Sustainable Development Network, is a network of over 300 network of civil society organizations, farmers association, women group, pastoralists, and the rest of them. We work on, a way of promoting a friendly environment and sustainable development for all. This network operates across the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. We work at the grassroots, at the national level, in terms of policy influencing and grassroots work. So with this, I want to go ahead to answer those 2 questions through the presentation. Number 1, why Africa? Over 40% economically active population of Africans work and live from agriculture. And like the moderator stated earlier, one of the most impacted sectors in terms of climate change is the agricultural sector. And I am of the opinion that if agriculture is the most impacted, and this revolves around our daily living, I'm very sure there is no one here that has not taken food today. Even if you have not done that today, you probably must have done that yesterday. That is a product of agriculture. Once agriculture dies, we all die. And the second point there is majority of this population are women and youth. You know, Africa has the population of over 60% being youth. And some of these people are actively engaged in agriculture. And as we proceed, I will make you see why we need to encourage or build the capacity of these people through agriculture. You know, even with this, ironically, why Africa contributes less than 4% of the global carbon emission-driven climate change, it suffers disproportionately from the climate crisis. This is one of the reasons why this presentation is focused on Africa. Now, why agricultural adaptation? It is no news that climate change is severely impacting Africa, undermining economies, public health, food security, and social structures. The 2 extreme weather conditions that we experience in Africa, from what you can see. For example, Nigeria, where I come from, the northern part of Nigeria is exposed to extreme weather condition that leads to drought and desertification. Last year, being 2022, thousands of animals died due to lack of green pasture, lack of access to water. And then when you move to the southern region of Nigeria, they are exposed to perennial flooding. Throughout 2022, it was estimated that over 2,000 Africans died from flooding. Nigeria, having the highest number of deaths recorded, stands at over 600. You can be very sure that if over 2,000 died from this flooding, millions were displaced. It was not enough. A number of these farmers, now you see how this is linked with why agricultural adaptation. A number of these farmers happens to be peasant farmers. A number of them take loans before they can even go into agriculture. And once the flood happens, before harvest, they lost all their harvest. Now these people are faced with several challenges, ranging from starvation, health issues, and then they are now being pursued by banks where they took loan from. And this is one of the reasons many times we say giving loans to farmers, particularly those facing climate disaster, is not a solution, it's a false solution. How are they going to survive? How are they going to pay the loans? As I speak to you, I just want to pause at this point to show you a video. You see what happened in 2022 in Nigeria. All right. Please watch. At least you can recognize that this is This is not a river. This is a highway that passed through the city. You can see buildings totally submerged. I was right there. A number of schools flooded. And you know, once flood happens this way, the sanitation, the hygiene is messed up. These are trucks, totally submerged. That is not a waterway. That is actually a road. Totally submerged. This is farmland, and you can see communities. You can see their crops all gone. Life in Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State. You can imagine that this is a state capital. What use is any conference or negotiation? All right, thank you so much. That statement was not complete. It actually happened shortly before the COP in Sharm el-Sheikh, COP 27. And you know, ahead of that COP, so many people were hopeful. Oh, this COP is going to deliver for Africa. Oh, the issue of loss and damage is going to see the light of the day. But unfortunately, the statement I was making there is, you can imagine what a conference for climate change in Africa will be doing without addressing the issue of loss and damage. Now, this is what happened. Thousands of animals died, like I was saying. And then I said, so many farmland were flooded. As we speak today, a number of these farmers are here to recover from the flooding that took place in 2022. And the impact of climate change continues to grow on a daily basis. Now, I want to even say this, and I want to now talk about the need for us to work together in this space. Climate change aggravates issues of health and migration by fueling forced migration and displacement, increasing healthcare need. Now, COVID-19 taught us a very big lesson. And I want to highlight a few. COVID-19 taught us a lesson that if there is a challenge in any location, it can easily travel across the world. The impact of climate change can travel across the globe. And I show you one example. Because of the shrinking opportunity available in the agricultural sector in Africa, a number of young people are migrating. They are running away because their sources of livelihood has been destroyed. And this has become a major issue. A number of countries are battling with their growing population. They are growing, trying to get jobs for their people. And here you have a teeming, population of African youths running away because of climate-induced, catastrophes. the best way to manage the issue of migration when it comes to Africa migrating to Europe and other parts of the world is not by arresting them and putting them in jails, is by addressing the impact of climate change. We have continued to have issues of herders and farmers, crisis across Africa. This has also led to the displacement of a number of farmers, young people in particular. Because of time, I will want to run through this. Now, having discussed these challenges, what can we do? And what have we been doing? And how can we change the narrative? Here is our little work at the grassroots level in Nigeria. Currently, we are working on how to galvanize the voices of civil society across the country so these people can tell their own story to the media. We work also in terms of policy influencing. We have worked with the government of the country in Nigeria, and we are doing same across Africa through our network, the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, to influence policies. At the national level, we do training for farmers on alternative sources of livelihood. Now, you see, even if you want to discuss the issue of mitigation, it is becoming somehow difficult because these people, particularly those living, those forest-dependent communities, with the shrinking available resources, a number of them are encroaching into long-preserved forests, and they are cutting them down. Now, we are working with these communities to sensitize them and to also build their capacities on alternative sources of livelihood. We need partnership on this. We have worked also with media, a number of media, build their capacities to be able to tell effective climate-related stories through the gender lens. Capacity building training for women and youths at the grassroots level to take climate action. A number of climate action are taking place at the grassroots level, a number of adaptation initiative, locally led initiative, but these people need to be empowered to do more. Climate change club quiz competition and other activities in schools, these are things that CSDevNet is doing in Nigeria, and we think together we can do more. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Stephen Abuh, National Coordinator of Climate and Sustainable Development Network, for that presentation and running us through the impact of climate change on our agri-food system, agriculture, health in the country, and on the continent, and also zeroing in Nigeria. Without much ado, I want to introduce a group. It's going to be different presentations from this group, and I would like to introduce them all in group, and then they will take turn to share some of the insights. So the first person is Nadia Palari, is Innovation and Sustainability Advisor, Change for the Planet. The second, she will have a video to show us on the Video Forest Valley. We have Antonio Lanon, is a founder, the FoodCons agri-tech expert. And then we also have a video on adaptation to be presented to us. And then we have Marco Beeco, Innovations Ecosystem in Agri-Food. Also, we have some insights that will be shared by Marco. So, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the case studies. That would be a case study. Yes. Yeah. I want to, because it's a case study she will be presenting, so it's a different, so I will introduce her at that point. So please, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, join me welcome our colleagues to take the floor to do this
Thank
presentation before we move to the case study aspect.
Yeah, I'm going to be very fast. Actually, I want to thank you for being here today. My name is Irene Galeb, and I'm the Vice President of Change for Planet, the Italian NGO that works with youth on projects on fields of sustainability, but also on education. I want to thank Nadia, of course, for organizing this event, but I also want to thank a lot Beeco and Forest Valley for being here today with us. We're going to launch the video straight away so that we can present it, but I want to stress that for Change for Planet, this topic is very important. We brought it in classes around the entire peninsula of Italy. We talk a lot about sustainability in the supply chain system, and we want to stress that this is a very important topic, not only from a project point of view, but also from an educational point of view. Thank you very much, and we can go with the video.
The journey towards a sustainable future is paved with innovation. As industries strive to meet the challenges of climate transition, the need for groundbreaking innovations in products, services, and business models becomes ever more critical. Embracing an open approach to corporate innovation is key. This method expands the innovation horizon beyond the traditional company walls by leveraging both internal and external knowledge, ideas, technologies, and intellectual assets. Corporate startup collaboration melds the agility and innovative prowess of startups with the scale and experience of established companies, fast-tracking the adoption of new technologies and accelerating the transition to sustainable models. Forest Valley exists to foster this collaboration. As global populations grow amid climate change, we face the challenge of sustainably feeding the world. It's a time calling for agricultural practices that balance productivity with environmental care. In response, a new wave of climate tech startups is emerging, revolutionizing the agri-food sector with innovative solutions. We connect private and public sectors with emerging B2B climate solutions and technologies that can satisfy their needs and speed up the evolution towards sustainable and regenerative models. Join us to explore the sustainable solutions that will feed our world. The time for action is now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, and thanks for attending this event. I personally go through a little bit to the Italian agri-food tech ecosystem. Surely most of you, when heard about Italian food, talk about, of course, the great food heritage we have, the pasta, pizza, cheese, and so on. Maybe a little bit less about innovation, but there is a reason, because we are talking about an ecosystem so fragmented, but at the same time, so promising. Why I say it's so fragmented? Because we have more than 950 startups. This is a deal flower source. And let's see, this is a quick picture of the ecosystem done by Forward Fooding, where there are presented various startups in agri-food tech. So not just agri-tech. Agri-food tech means innovation farm to fork. So from agri-tech, of course, then food science, delivery, consumer, and so on. Why I say it's so promising? Because surely a benchmark for the quality and quantity of an ecosystem are the investments. We heard about investments, and this is a kind of preview, personal insights that I'm gonna give you. This year, when all over the world, in all over the sector, investments, VC are decreasing, in Italian food tech, we will have a plus 50% of investments, year over year, from 2022, from last year to this year. And of course, we are talking about peanuts. These investments in Italy are just the 0.57% of global investments. But there is a figure, a pretty interesting number. That means the investments in agri-tech. Almost half investments in Italy are done in agri-tech startups. And this year we will have 80% plus in investments in agri-tech. And the reasons are so wide, different, and interesting. So agri-tech rules in Italy, there's a nice landscape. There are many reasons making agri-tech the most promising subsector in Italian agri-food tech scene. So deep connection with sustainability and of course with climate change, because you know agri-tech, innovation in agriculture is the most, is something really close with soil, with forestry, with fishery, with livestock, and so on. Market size, first-class startups, skilled investors, big companies keen on changing. This, it made me a little bit pleasure that these topics were discussed a couple of years ago in a panel I had the pleasure to attend in agri-food tech, in agri-food pavilion, and so it means that the path is right. So we are on the way. And but let's know some leaders because we have in Italy some small startups, small companies that are already leaders in their specific subsector. One of these, for example, is X-Farm, active in smart farming, so data collection, digitizing supply chains, not just interacting with farmers, but even with big companies. For example, can be defined beyond that as European leader in smart farming. Among the reasons of this success, special measures deserve the top-down or business-to-business approach. They work with some interesting food behemoths to digitize the supply chain. The panel before talked about the importance of data. Fernando even underlined the importance of data in agriculture, and as a bright example, there are just some figures about money raised, farmers active hectares, and supply chain monitored. Another Italian leader, for example, is 3B, active in beekeeping and CSR. It's been selected in accelerator in Singapore. Even them interact not just with beekeepers, they interact with big companies for CSR projects. So in the last year, they switched, in fact, from agri-tech to climate tech, because now they are building a framework related on credit of biodiversity, not just carbon credit, but biodiversity credit. They got a grant by European Community to build this interesting framework. Consider that, you know, carbon credit is something pretty controversial. So, but credit on biodiversity would be something completely new. Another one is the circle, is aquaponics, so building fishery and fish culture with vertical farming. So it means a system where fish waste becomes the nutrition of the feed of the plants, of the veggies. And they have the greatest aquaponics farm in Europe, and they're building a second one. Oh, even here some figures. And pre-introduction, but we are away with Cynomys. Cynomys will be one of the case studies that it will be showcased in a while. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for keeping to time and also sharing those insights for us, with us from Italy. So let me move now to the case studies. And the first on the list, startup perspectives, will be Dr. Ermelinda Faletta. There's one before. Okay. It's a group. Okay, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
everyone. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Nice to meet you. I'm an innovator over a decade and a really passionate advocate of sustainability. As you see, this is a little piece of Italy. As my dear colleagues show you Africa, and as Fernando told you about innovation, I will be like in the mix-up point of both. And while previous panelists have discussed about innovation, technology, a little bit of the future, the present, I'm here really to talk about startups. And as Antonio did a little bit, startups for us is like the crucible of change and innovation. Startups are not just businesses, they are breeding grounds of revolutionary ideas and the frontiers of sustainable information for us. But today, I want to share with you not just an ideas of startups, not that different startups, but a kind of transformative journey in the agri-food sector that deeply rooted in our startup ecosystem. And maybe you know circular economy, for sure you know that, but let's delve into the realm of circular innovation. But maybe you didn't listen about that. It's not just about sustainability or funding startups in isolation project, for example. It's about creating an ecosystem where innovation feeds into another, creating a sustainable cycle of growth and give back. Imagine a world where startups, education, investments, and services seamlessly intertwine each other and supporting and enhancing the other one. This is the essence of our circular innovation. And I want to make some example. Taking Sfera Agricola, this company, it's Italy's largest tomato greenhouse, and they're saving up 90% of water and impacting on several sustainability goals. But what truly makes it a beacon of circular innovation is how they use their profits and how the founders, Luigi Galimberti and Giovanni Ferri, act. What they do is not just for profit's sake, but to power a cycle of sustainability and education. And from profits, in effect, we move to education. We are in the same ecosystem. We meet Orto Mio that bring in the world of sustainable tomatoes, the one from Sfera Agricola, into schools. Imagine micro greenhouses and labs where students learn to adapt plants to their changing environments and create new seeds. This isn't just education. It's an empowerment for the next wave of sustainable innovation and for the next startups and start-upper too. But where do these young minds go once they are ready? Into a network that funds and fosters their ideas. To seed, in this case, plays a crucial role because it's an investment fund that takes academic research and transforms it into viable businesses. It's true tech transfer in action in this case, and this innovation become enterprise themselves and adding a new dimension to our ecosystem, to our circularity. Alongside with, for example, agricultura, designing sustainable spaces and deeply handling financing, and each element contributes to and benefits from these interconnected systems. And at the heart of this, we have Beeco. It's an enabler. We enable communication and collaboration in our community in this case. Our journey begins in Italy, but its potential global. With Beeco at the helm, we are really expanding this kind of ecosystem in all the world and creating microsystem of innovation worldwide, and each adapting and thriving its unique context. And just as nature relies on an ecosystem to thrive, just as tomato, as I said, plant needs more than just a seed to grow, innovation and startups cannot be left alone. They need really a nurturing environment and interconnecting network where ideas are seeded, kind of nurtured and allowed to flourish. And for this we are here. This is the essence of our circular innovation that we can apply in all over the world. From a single sustainable tomato to a global network of change. And this is the power of agri-tech and the power of our sustainable innovation. And for the last one, I would say, let's not just plant seeds, let's cultivate an ecosystem of sustainability, even among us, in this case, and really thank you. And the next speaker that you're going to present, thank you, Sam, will show you another pinpoint on this ecosystem that she's going to speak about water, and we can start another kind of circular innovation from that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Marco. Yes, Dr. Ermelinda, she is a research fellow at the University of Milano and founder of Visioning Valorization of Agro-Industrial Waste. Please, colleagues, join me welcome Dr. Ermelinda as she takes us through the case study.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ermelinda Faletta. Science is my life, science is my job, but first of all, it's the approach that I use every day to face the challenges of our time. And this is visioning. It's a simple solution to a global problem. Every day, huge amount of agricultural wastewater are produced, rarely treated before to be disposed of, practically never utilized. This represents a huge environmental impact for the planet. Take a look to the numbers. The Netherlands, that is one of the most advanced countries in Europe in this field, every year produces about 2 billion liters of agricultural wastewater without reuse them. This means that it's not statistic. It's a call to responsibility. On the other hand, this type of waste represents an economic damage for farms and companies because they contain the most part of nutrients, fertilizers, on which every year the companies and farms invest. Just to have an idea, every day, every year, the cost of fertilizers grows because they are related to the population growth and to the cost of energy. This means that on one end we have pollution, on the other end economic damage for farms and companies. However, science is amazing. It permits to find solutions starting from simple principles in order to face global problems. That's what we're doing with visioning. The point is valorize every single drop of this type of waste just using sunlight. For this reason, today we are proud to affirm that visioning is not only a technology for wastewater remediation, but it represents in this field revolution, innovation, and sustainability. And here is visioning. It is a bimodular reactor made of a bioelectrochemical system able to connect the most part of nutrients present in the waste, and it is coupled with a photocatalytic device able to complete the purification process using sunlight. At the end of the process, the collected nutrients and the purified water can be reintroduced in the company. And this means valorization and innovation. For this reason, we can say that vision is a guarantee of authentic circularity, and it responds to the goals of the 2030 Agenda of UN. The global wastewater market is growing fast. This means that now companies need solutions, and vision is ready to face this market. On the other hand, if we compare vision with the other technologies currently in use, the advantages are clear, are evident, not only in terms of nutrients recovery, but first of all in terms of sustainability. However, visioning is not only business. It represents also an opportunity for those remote areas of the planet for which the access to fresh water is not permitted for many months during the year. Behind every great idea, there is a great team. I'm not alone in this amazing journey, but I can count on the collaboration of international experts in all the technological fields of our interest, as well as on 2 important advisors and fantastic private partner, leader in the field of agri-food tech. That's the end of my talk. However, once more, I want to remember you that visioning is valorization of agri-industrial wastewater. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much for keeping to time and for the presentation. Very insightful, Dr. Ermelinda. So let me turn online. We have one presenter online, Enrico Carta. She's the CEO and founder of Cynomys AI and precision livestock farming. Can we have the presentation? Thank you. IT guys. So if Enrico is online, please, you have the floor.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, please. Perfect.
Yeah, because I don't see anything and I don't see my presentation, so.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, and today I'm very honored to discuss the crucial role of environmental monitoring in livestock farming and its significant impact on our climate. The livestock farming is a double-edged sword. It meets the growing demand for food and proteins, but an important environmental cost. This sector is one of the major contributors to greenhouse gas emission, water consumption, and land degeneration. But with innovative technologies, we can enhance the resilience of the livestock farming system, not only for mitigate the environmental impact, but also for ensure their long-term viability. To mitigate this impact, precise monitoring is mandatory. With the advent of IoT technologies, we have the capability to track and analyze a multitude of environmental parameters in real time. With our sensor, with our solution deployed across farms, we can track environmental parameters like air quality, water usage, and waste management. And we can gain real-time insight and make informed decisions. With the power of AI, our approach to data-driven corrective action reach a new level of efficiency and precision. AI algorithms can analyze a vast amount of environmental data, identify patterns, and predict trends that might escape by human analysis. Today, we are able to create tailored solutions that are specific to each livestock farming environment. With accurate data, we can implement corrective action that are not just reactive, but proactive. This approach enables us to reduce the environmental footprint and increase the productivity. Let's consider our partners and customers where environmental monitoring leads to a significant reduction in gas emission and use of antibiotics. With our technology, we can see better animal welfare, a reduction in ammonia emission, and the possibility to control the methane emission. This case clearly demonstrates that responsible environmental practices not only benefit our planet, but also contribute to more efficient and sustainable farming operation, and proving that sustainable livestock farming is achievable. In conclusion, let us remember that it's only by precise environmental measurement that we can truly understand the impact of our action. And it is with understanding that we can act to shape a more sustainable future for livestock farming and for our planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Enrico, for that presentation. I would like to turn to Dr. Winnie Bell, who is a senior technical advisor for her presentation. She's with the Center for Dietary Assessment at FHI 360. Dr. Winnie, you have the floor.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you all for hanging in here to this moment. This is going to be a quick presentation. So I work primarily, I have a background in nutrition public health, and so I'm bringing a slightly different angle, but it's been great to hear from colleagues sort of from the macro to the micro and to travel from Nigeria and to Italy and all around. So I am going to be talking about a solution oriented towards measuring diets and the environmental impacts of diets. So here we have a diagram that some of you might be familiar with. It's sort of showing food systems, different components of the food system, and how they affect nutrition and diets ultimately. The area that I work in is really on the diet side. So as Steve usefully noted, everybody consumes food, maybe not today, at least yesterday, hopefully. And the group that I work with is really interested in how we can measure diets for people all over the world and do a better job of getting precise information about that. And as we know, what gets measured gets managed, and therein it is important to understand what people are consuming and the health impacts, as well as the environmental impacts. So we have in this diagram along the top the external drivers which both impact the food system and are impacted by the food system. And this presentation is really focused on the link between diets and the environmental impacts of those diets. So the problem we're solving for, we've noted from the very beginning, we're all well familiar that about 1/3 of greenhouse gases come from our food system. In addition, poor diets right now account for about 1/4 of all deaths globally. So it's not an insignificant number in terms of the effect of what we're consuming on our health and longevity. In addition, in the recent decades, we've seen a transition in diets globally towards greater consumption of animal source foods and ultra-processed foods, also further contributing to climate change. Despite the importance of all these factors, though, we don't have solid data on what people are consuming globally. So when I say consuming, I mean like actually measuring at a population level and in a nationally representative way what people are eating, and also the link between what's being consumed and then the environmental impact of those diets. I will just give a shout out to Nigeria, since we had Steve earlier, and say that our group has worked over the last 5 years or so with the government of Nigeria to collect nationally representative nutrition data for the entire country. So those data aren't yet linked with the environmental impact aspect, but is just really focused on, what are people consuming and what does that mean for the health of the population. So the departure points for this work that I'm presenting today come from two different sources. One on the left is the work that our group has carried out, developing metrics and an app for how to measure diet quality. So, the sort of how to better assess and predict risks related to nutrient inadequacy and risks for non-communicable diseases through the diets that we consume. On the right-hand side, we're picking up and working with the group at University of Oxford who have been looking at the environmental impacts of diets, both for consumers and producers. So the solutions that we're proposing and that we're actively working on are threefold. Firstly, developing the Intake for Earth app, which I'll talk about. Also related to that, developing the environmental impacts of diets database, as well as planetary health-related metrics. So firstly, this app is designed for collecting population-level data on diet quality and environmental impacts. The app includes a global food list of over 7,000 items, which collects and quantifies the foods consumed at the individual food level. So for anybody who has a background in nutrition, you'll know that this is no small undertaking. The app itself automatically tabulates both the planet-friendly, healthy diet metric, which reports on the percentage of the population consuming a diet that's both planet-friendly and healthy. And then there are additional environmental metrics built in. So as far as the database itself goes, we're focusing on 4 key planetary health metrics, including greenhouse gas emissions, land use, water use, and eutrophication potential. This is a database that's been expanded from the original 40 groupings that were in the Poor and Nemechek paper to over 74 food groupings now. And these have all been mapped to the country level across 147 countries rather than globally. We're also including biodiversity loss estimates using both global and country level data. And then thirdly, we have the planetary health-related metrics. So again, this is just providing solid metrics because as we've noted, what gets measured gets managed. Therefore, having ways to quantify and track the relationship between what's consumed and the environmental impacts across these components is critical. The metrics themselves are all designed to show both, again, the diet quality itself and the environmental impacts. And we're developing a toolkit to allow countries to further adapt the metrics for country-specific thresholds and relevance. So this tool, and I'm introducing this very, very quickly just because I know we're short on time, has several different uses, but primarily, the app is something that's been designed for uptake by national governments as well as researchers for use in surveys to help quantify the extent to which people are consuming, what types of diets they're consuming, and then the different environmental impacts of those diets themselves. These data can be used to track the link between population-level dietary patterns, diet quality, and planetary health, which, as we know, are all elements that are interlinked and of critical importance, and then also to monitor both planet-friendly and healthy diets concurrently in order to better inform policies and programs that are aimed at improving health in the environment. So there's like very quick high-level takeaway points here is that the group that I work with, Intake Center for Dietary Assessment, which is based in Washington, D.C., but has FHI 360 has offices all over the world, is developing this suite of freely available tools and technologies for measuring planet-friendly healthy diets. These tools and technologies they aim to contribute to the measurement and advocacy efforts to improve policies and programs. And we, through this work and through other work that we have ongoing, really intend to fill the data gap that's been introduced and allow for, increased collection, analysis, and use of dietary data and environmental impacts. So if anybody in this room or who might be watching this recording at some point is interested in learning more, either as an early adopter of these technologies, as a thought partner, as a co-founder, I encourage you to be in touch. And I'm just one of a team of people who are working on this set of technologies, and our names are here. So thank you all for your attention. I'm going to hand this over.
Thank you so much, Winnie, for that. I told you, colleagues, that there will be a lot of insights that we'll be getting from today's presentation. Please, the next speaker is Dr. Nguyen Tuan, who is also the Regional Technical Advisor, Social Change Innovator, Alive and Thrive, and Innovation Incubator, also at FHI 360. Please join me welcome Dr. Tuan as he make his presentation and take the floor. Tuan, you have the floor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for staying until very late in the presentation. Winnie mentioned about the food system. However, you really see a missing piece. Actually, breastfeeding is not in the food system. So actually, I want to talk about that now. So I will start by a scenario. So if a woman, she raised a cow, have the milk sell to a company. So that milk was count to GDP. So everyone will appreciate that. However, if the same woman, she breastfed the children 1 year, 2 years, or even 3 years, she produced a lot of milk, but it's never been counted. So, in addition to that, you know that if you raise a cow, all of the carbon and water footprint going through the raw production of the cow itself, all of the transportation and uses of the milk. So, because of the limitation, so we developed two tools, the green feeding tool and mother milk tool, to visualize the contribution of the women to the economics and also to environment. You might all familiar with the literature on the right. So they discuss about the triple duty of action. So relating to the infant and young child nutrition, so policy, program, and investment that improve breastfeeding are triple duty of action. That's on one side, that help to improve dietary quality, population health, and also improve the planet. Why formula milk? So first we could see that the rate, the very extremely high value of the sale of formula milk, and furthermore, it's increased rapidly in the last 10 years. And most of the change happened in Asia Pacific and lower middle income countries. So this is really the burden, because if you are rich, that's fine, but we are facing the problem. They are marketing to very poor people. And if we divide the number by the total population, you still could see the trend. So the annual per capita increase, also expenditure also high and increase with time. So another big problem with formula milk is the increased sale of formula milk, like also delay the breastfeeding practice and also shorten the duration of breast milk. So that's really big thing as well. So the motivation for us to develop the mother milk tool is we really want to visualize the contribution, economic contribution of the women through breastfeeding. So you could see here through the tool that if a mother for a child, if she breastfed the children for 24 months, she actually generates the income of $35,000 US. And if that is 33 months, so she generates the income of $43,000 US. So that is really huge number, right? So in the tool also estimate like the total production of the milk from the women around the world is around 36 billion liters. This is also a very huge number. However, that's only account for around 62% of the potential. So that leads to the loss of the milk around 22 million liters. And if equivalent to 2.2 trillion US dollar. To make that number into perspective, that's 10% of US GDP. This 1.5 times Australian GDP, and you are here in UAE, so it's 5 times the GDP of this country. So this very big amount that they produce, and also we are still have a room to improve. And then the second tool is, we know that all of through the food chain that I've just mentioned, we potentially create a lot of greenhouse gases. So in this tool, we try to see what would be the potential of the footprint that could reduce by improving breastfeeding practice. So the tool shows that in lower middle income country, the dairy formula for infant under 6 months contribute to an annual footprint of around 7 billion kilograms CO2 equivalent. And that's equal to 2 million cars running on the road for a year. So with the rate of around 15,000 kilometers a car a year. And we could also need save around more than 300 million trees, because this could, that's the amount they absorb. Also the water. So that's generated to around 2.6 trillion liters of water, or equivalent to the water to fill 1 million Olympic swimming pool, or the rainfall of the city you are sitting here in Dubai, 6.2 years. So that's a really big one. So now you might see that in your seat, you will see some of these bookmarks. I would like to have you to have your cell phone scan one of the barcode. Go ahead. Maybe have it. Scan one of the sides of the barcode. You might go to the green feeding tool or mother milk tool, so this does not matter. However, if you could go there and check it out. So at first you will see like some small instruction about the tool, but then you could also go to the calculator, and with that calculator you could navigate to a country that you are interested in, and have a little bit of number that you want to see. Yeah, I'm going to, later we could discuss further about the data that you have. And at this occasion, I would like to thank for the development team from Australia National University, Alive and Thrive, the tools tester and user, and also the funding from Innovation Incubator. So that's the end of my presentation. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tuan. And for wrapping on that note, the presentation, I believe that myself and maybe some of us have never valued the aspect of breastfeeding and milk as part of food, as food. So thank you for, raising that flag, and I think I've gotten my takeaway and message back home, and also for the continent in Africa. Thank you so much. So at this point, I want to thank all our presenters, both online and those physical with us. We want to switch to the aspect of discussion now. Remember, I told us from the beginning of the event that it's going to be a collaborative mine is to facilitate the collaborative discussion that we're going to have here. So I turn to you for questions, comments, response to all the presentations, and I will ask that you direct your question, comment, or presentation to specific presenters, panelists, and experts that have spoken on various and varying topics, but all geared towards the same thing, agri-food system, including the breast milk and breastfeeding as part of the food system that we're talking about. So at this point, I want to open the floor to the audience for their comments, questions, and responses. Please, if you have any, just raise up your hand, and then you will give you the floor. So I have one hand, and please pass the moving mic to her, and let's hear from her. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Anna Manikowska Di Giovanni. I have a question, I guess it's a little bit for everyone, but I don't understand the connection between the Nigerian presentation and the innovations that were presented here. 60 to 80% of the food are produced, that are consumed in developing countries, are produced by smallholder farmers. Now, how do these technologies that are mostly, I suppose, targeted towards industrial farming, how can they be translated into something that can be used for smallholder farming rather than being implemented in developed countries and then with developing countries left with handling the effects of climate change and not being able to produce food anymore and simply having to buy the food from developed countries who have all these technologies. So I would really love to hear from the panel on how this really translates into the majority of people who are producing food in the planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to take more questions and response, and then our panelists will respond to them. Any more? Okay.
Yes, but no, what you say it's correct, but consider, for example, in Italy we have small agribusiness. We don't have the big agribusiness, for example, like in Australia or Canada or USA. And that's about your question is really the skill of the startups to educate before to innovate, to educate, for example, X-Farm, for example, Cynomys, I know personally, and they do a huge, deep work of education of small farmers about the importance of innovation. That's why that's the skill, that's the capability of the startup to translate the huge amount of technology into something understandable by the small farmers. And as we say in Italy, I think that is something that can be done in Africa, can be done wherever there is a small farmers environment. I take, for example, Italy because it is the environment I know better, and I know even Canada and the USA. Of course, if we talk about big agribusiness, it's more easy because even for them it's more scalable. For small farmers, it's just, for example, it's a matter of education. To let farmers understand really that is not, for example, technology is not a cost, but it's an investment. That's the major shift that I personally experience in talking about technology to small farmers. Though it's not a cost, it's an investment because they have to be educated about what this investment can bring in terms of personal saving, but even in terms, of course, in sustainability and impact on the food system. It's something that, for example, I heard about just in front here in the agribusiness pavilion. That's my idea. Okay.
Okay. We have my brother behind you. Sadiq.
Thank you so much, sir. My name is Aliyu Sadiq, and I'm from Nigeria. So I just have something that has been bothering my thoughts, and I feel I'll get answers from experts here. We have local farmers whom have been producing food from agriculture. And now you have more developing technologies coming from Western nations, especially the angle of seed technology, genetically modified seeds, and these seeds are now being pumped to these local farmers as solutions for increased food security, as solutions to address the increasing population. But my concern now is that, is it the way to go? If it is the way to go, this is a technologically driven solution. But then, how about the angle of when these indigenous seeds are no more there because of this divestment to modified seeds? What becomes the fate if these technologies eventually fail in the future? That either they have unforeseen consequences. Just for example, the plastic pollution. It was a solution in the Industrial Revolution. Today, it's a major pollution problem. So I'm just being skeptical, and what's your opinion?
Thank you so much. I think we can allow our panelists to respond to those other issues that have been raised, including the last one. And maybe if I could throw into the spinner into the clocks or the wheel is, I think the same thing. The perception of my sister here and Sadiq, I'm also in the same boat with them, where we even having internet penetration on the continent of Africa, less than, very, very minimal. And then we're still trying to get on board farmers to adopt technologies that they will implement on their farm. And now comes the AI and others. Who foot the bill? How is this thing going to also safeguard our indigenous food that we also want to preserve? This week, Secretary Blinken talks about the visions for adapted crops and seeds, which was launched by the US, African Union, and the FAO, try to preserve African indigenous seeds and food. So where do we place all these things? We're still not there on the continent. So is this thing meant for the developed North, Italy? How then do you do the technology transfer? And who foot the bill? Thank you.
Yes. I think I will try to address both because we have 45 seconds. Who foots the bill? First, there are a lot of smart farming developments in Africa already ongoing. This is the number one. And so we have to find a way. And my take is a matter of policy, of trying to make sure that it trickles down. The smart farming technologies in general, and AI in particular, is best suited for small farmers. So the problem is access, clearly is access, and it's financing. Sam is our finance experts here, so I will not delve into that. But it's an issue of finance, and although, for example, loss and damage started only 30 years late, the agreement was reached. Probably it is part of the funds needs to be there, not just to assess flood consequences, but actually flood causes, and technology can help with that. The issue with the future of technology, yes, possibly you are right that what will be the unintended consequences, but I will argue that innovation is not only, I don't buy that particularly American idea that innovation is genetically modified food. Innovation might be new ways to use indigenous food and indigenous seeds. So I think that the innovations should be first properly defined, and then to create the policies that foster them with the proper financing. But I think that the starting point is here. So we raise the issue, so we start talking about the issue. If not, it will never happen.
Thank you. And I guess that is your parting word.
If I can add something.
Yes, because our time is up.
I want to add something like probably because we don't have time maybe
Yeah.
for the next one, but if I can catch after the question, it will be great, I suppose. Thank you. Even with my colleague there, if I can answer later after the speech, because we're running out of time.
Okay. Thank you. Your parting word, Winnie and Tuan.
No, I'm just saying. Also, thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right, Tuan. Thank you. Thank you, audience. Thank you so much. So let the conversation continues outside. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for our IT guys for the time. Yeah.
Very much for
I think the panelists, you can have a photo. All the panelists, please, let's come to the stage and have a photo. All the speakers. Just a photo.
The photo?
Yes. All the panelists, please, just come over. Let's have a quick photo here.